You can't do cannabis business without doing cannabis activism. Even today, as you know, I hope we can unite together with the new, you call them the new people coming in, I call them the suits. Some people call them corporate cannabis. We have to build bridges with these folks because these frameworks are hurting all of us.
Yeah.
And some of the suits and the new people want those frameworks to be moats around their companies so we can't compete with them. But that's just being short-sighted, and we got to call them out for that. And because if we tear the walls down together, they'll do better than any moat they can build. I mean, they'll just do better. It's in their own interest to do that.
There's a lot of people that look at Bob Marley as a pioneer of cannabis, and in that facet. But in our generation of cannabis, this guy right here, you guys literally are the pioneers of why we're sitting here. What is cannabis doing for you?
Put some dog tags together, man.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to PV Unfiltered. And it's been a little while. I'm not going to lie. Things are definitely looking up in every avenue. But I got to tell you guys, this is one that I've been waiting for quite a while in a lot of different ways, and we'll go into that. But Andrew D'Angelo. Now, let me do this introduction because I haven't worked on any of this shit. All right? But this guy, if you don't know him, then you're going to know him in some way or another. But he is an actor, activist extraordinaire. Can I say that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, of course.
Throw that in there.
That part's true.
And he's also the co-founder of one that I'm really interested in and have been, is The Last Prisoner. That's correct too.
Last Prisoner Project, yes.
So,
and chairperson of the board currently as well.
We've been climbing that mountain trying to get into your, do we call it former?
Yes, former company, Harborside. Yes.
Harborside. So, we always, it's like one of those things where you're almost there and then you weren't. We talked about getting Platinum Vape in and it was there, and then whatever happened, I mean, we'll find out, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Well, we had an exit. I had an exit and left the company when we went public, shortly after we went public. So, so maybe I wasn't there to navigate as well for you guys. It's a hard shelf to get onto, man.
Oh.
Everybody wants to get on Harborside shelves.
Absolutely.
Particularly our store in Oakland. I'll still use we and our when I talk about Harborside because I still feel that connection there. But and I'm very proud of what we built there, even though the owners are much different now, and I think probably the culture is much different now.
Yeah.
Than when I was running it, but. Regardless of all that, it was a really hard shelf to get into, and our Oakland store had a huge volume, and everybody, if you did get on the shelf at that store, it moved the needle for your company. So I understand why everybody wanted to. And then I think also there was a legitimate amount of pride if you could get on the Harborside shelf, because we were a hard shelf to get on, not mainly because we scrutinized people's quality, and our customers knew that, and so so that was we tried to play a role of trust with our customers, and sometimes you call it right and sometimes you don't.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that you didn't call it right. I mean, you didn't call it right, but you didn't. No, just kidding. But that's the truth. And I watched the show. Anybody that is in this industry did. And reality is this, dude, I like, there's a lot of people that look at Bob Marley as a pioneer of cannabis, and in that facet. But in our generation of cannabis, this guy right here, you guys literally are the pioneers of why we're sitting here so free. And I'm not talking about just because you guys had stores. I'm talking about the background of what you have done in the industry to bring this forward for us to be able to sit here and freely talk and use cannabis in so many different ways. That's where you are a pioneer in this. And so people don't really know that because everything moves so fast. The new people, I'll say. But I can tell you that when I was watching the show, it was, wow, these fuckers are brave. Look at what these guys are doing. How are they? How does that guy walk up to that store every day? It's like a mouse walking into a trap, you know. And you did it, and you guys had the issues. You went through them, and you know what? And I'll be honest with you, we did the same thing. And those things that I saw and understood as it was going along helped me when I got raided. You know, I mean, there were the understanding of that it's okay, as careless as some people may think it is, but dude, you're a pioneer in this industry, and it, you know, and I thank you for that, because as much as I was watching this show wondering why would these guys do this, I now and later on understood how important this was. And it wasn't just the store, it was getting the message out about cannabis at a time, and you guys know, cannabis was a tough place to be. And you guys had lines around the block. It wasn't like you were hidden. It wasn't like you were, you know, hidden around the corner.
No. In those days when we first started in 2006, California was still the only state. It was only medical. There was no other legalization anywhere in the country. And we were pretty successful pretty quickly with our model, just because we provided something that had never been provided before in cannabis retail, which was a big open space with lots of natural light and no bars on the windows, and sophisticated POS systems and inventory systems, and a huge selection of products. And
right.
And we did things for seniors, and we did things for veterans, and we did things for prisoners, and we had free medical classes that people could take. And we were a real community center. And the company, the shop, was just sort of a platform for all of that. And we were always in the cannabis trade, and that's how we made a living. And so opening a shop made sense to us. But cannabis activism was always part of our entrepreneurial. You can't do cannabis business without doing cannabis activism. Even today,
yep.
As you know, the frameworks, all the legalization frameworks are terrible. They're all screwed up. We have to fix them. I hope we can unite together with the new, you call them the new people coming in. I call them the suits. Some people call them corporate cannabis. We have to build bridges with these folks, because these frameworks are hurting all of us.
Yeah.
And some of the suits and the new people want those frameworks to be moats around their companies, so we can't compete with them. But that's just being short-sighted, and we got to call them out for that. And because if we tear the walls down together, they'll do better than any moat they can build. I mean, they'll just do better. It's in their own interest to do that.
But that's the natural progression of corporate industry, is build a wall. It's
a moat. Yeah.
Moat. Keep our you know.
Yeah, that's got to change, man. It's destroying the world. Yeah. It's just got to change. And I hope cannabis can look. The plant has changed us all.
Yep.
The plant changed you. The plant changed me. Getting raided changed us all too.
My whole family's in this.
Yeah, you know, and so. And the plant changes everybody, and a plant changes the suits, and the plant, and a lot of them aren't taking the plant, even though they're trading in the plant, but they will.
Right.
And because the day is going to come when they get sick, or that something happens, or they have inflammation, or whatever it is, and then the plant does the job that for us, right? At that point, I hope, that's my prayer. That's what did it for me. That's what did it for you.
It takes that.
You change people from the inside out that way. And
that's what the plant's doing.
That's what the plant's doing. And so our job is just to convince everybody to take some of it.
Here, have this cookie.
Yeah, you know,
in the right way.
Really,
yeah.
Ultimately, that's what I learned at a very young age when I started selling weed. I saw it happen in people.
Yep.
And it was intuitive. I couldn't name it: endocannabinoid system, medical cannabis, wellness. This was 1985, 1986. Right. we didn't have any name like this.
The only name you had was Ziploc, and that was the bag that it was in.
Yeah, I mean, and you had the weed that your friend had that you could get, you know, and a lot of times your friend didn't have it, and you couldn't get it. And
what was that strain? What is a strain? Yeah, I mean, exactly. I got Colombian gold.
It's Mexican brickweed, or it's California, or it's this, it's that. and everyone, the strain thing didn't start coming around until the 90s, so in those days, but I saw how it changed people. Even as a teenager, I saw that the kids who smoked weed in the drama class were a lot cooler than the kids that were beer drinking, in some of the other parts of the school. So
I started smoking in the 7th grade. I'm not
really,
I'm not promoting that at all.
No, yeah.
But
yeah.
It came
you have
across
some kind of trauma that you were trying to heal yourself with, or
and this is, I mean, to go deep on this, I was never a big drinker.
Right.
Lots of friends that are, and I have friends now that from that age are full blown alcoholics.
You're Cali sober, man. You're Cali sober.
But here's the deal. I mean, however you look at it, and I've always said, if people are using cannabis, it's for a reason. And whether it's recreational just to feel good and be happy, that's a great reason. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, if you're sorting things out, and at that time, it was tough for me because my parents got divorced. I found out that my brothers and sisters were not my real brothers and sisters, that they were half brothers and sisters. Okay. And I mean, there was just a lot of that. And
I would say that was trauma.
It was to me.
Trauma. Yes.
And I can tell you that, that was my first phase into cannabis. I didn't, in the 7th grade, I didn't smoke all the time.
Did you have a guy? Did you have an older brother or a cousin, or who gave you the first cannabis that you
I was on the swim team. My best friend's older brother, which was a varsity swimmer, had a party next door at the neighbor's house, and that was the first time I ever smoked marijuana. Was with the older guys. And here's the varsity swim team smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, and smoking weed. And then they go out and they win the state championship. It's like, okay. And
they do a good job of introducing you to the plant.
100%.
Okay.
It was a great experience. And I know there's a lot of people that didn't have great experiences. If I had an edible, I wouldn't even be sitting here if that was my first introduction.
Right.
But no, I had a great experience, and I believed at that time that there was something more to it. And it's just a weird thing that everybody goes through with cannabis. When you first smoke it, it's in this, you're in this thing like, oh, I'm getting high. You've never done this before. It's like you're waiting for something just like, so dramatic to happen, and it never happens. But you all of a sudden you feel better, you feel good, and yes, people have overdosed, and that's just smoking too much or eating too much. But you always come back to reality. And for me, that became a path for me. And I don't know how many other people have ever sat and smoked weed alone by yourself, but I did a lot.
Yep.
And I found out who I was in a lot of different ways, and I sorted out a lot of my own problems in that way.
Yes, man. I mean, look, I gave a talk on 420. My 420 speech at this event was, look, what are we all about as a community? What's 420 all about? What's weed all about? It's about laughter, and it's about dancing.
And how bad is that?
And if you're not laughing and dancing, or whatever laughing and dancing means to you, then you need to smoke some weed and go up to the mountain and just keep ingesting visionary plants until you're laughing and dancing, and then come back down and join everybody else, and let's get back to work.
So the other thing that's really great is, and I just want to kind of segue into this, and with what's going on with the markets now, licensing and whatnot. I love the fact that you call it, so we have our regular market, and then you have the legacy market.
Legacy market, traditional market. Yeah, those are the words I like. I hate the word black market just because, look, we shouldn't be using that.
You know why?
Illicit market is,
I don't like any of those. I love the legacy market.
Yeah, I like underground. I can deal with because I'm proud of being in the underground. The time I was in the underground, I'm proud of that. But yeah, I do kind of like legacy. Yeah.
No, I mean, what a great way to describe it. Because you're right. Because listen, if you want to call it the black market, I was there. You want to call it the underground market, I was there. You want to call it the illicit? I don't like the illicit market. You know,
Well, black market is problematic because there's racist undertones and overtones to that, and we have all these. The war on weed was a war on black and brown people largely, and so I just think it's really important for us to be sensitive to that. So, and
100%.
Illicit is like it's
like
better than
nasty.
black. It's just it sounds like
It's
you're
like
doing
dirty.
and yeah, right. And what when you trade in cannabis, you're not doing something bad.
Right.
You're doing something good. And this is the great rebranding of cannabis that's happening right now, from a bad plant to a good plant, that people like you and the show and me, we're carrying that message out into the world every single day. Millions of us are now. And legalization, one domino after another, is fallen. New Mexico, New York, the framework's much better. New Mexico, the activists did a good job improving the framework in New York, I think. And so, we're learning from past mistakes. California's still a disaster. The framework.
That's the truth too.
Oh my God, the framework. Disaster.
The day you start thinking it's getting better, it's like another one of those walls just kind of flops over.
Yes, I wrote about this in Forbes, and I think we just got to be more aggressive up in Sacramento, especially this year with the recall. So anyone can read about that in Forbes on my column if you want.
So let's talk. I don't want to get in the political side of it, but with the new administration and with what's going on, what do you see? I mean, do you think we're going to pull through this? And is Kamala, is she on board?
Well, I think they're getting on board because of the work we're doing. Look, we're dragging both political parties across the finish line. Let's make no mistake about it.
Right.
The Democrats are not like our super good close friend. Not at all. And I don't know if even they can get the 50 votes in the Senate that they need from the Democrats themselves to pass any kind of meaningful reform.
Right.
We might get Safe Banking Act through because there's a bunch of Republicans that want to see that happen also. So we might get that through the Senate. But I just read a news article the other day. There's 2 or 3 Democratic senators that are adamantly against legalization, adamantly against that still are talking about the gateway theory. And like this woman from New Hampshire, Shaheen, she publicly went on the public record with a reporter and said, "Oh yes, it's gateway drug, and you want to do that in the middle of opioid epidemic over my dead body." And I'm like, okay, there's 80,000 dead bodies from the opioid epidemic that we could have saved. It's just so I don't know if she said over my dead body. She might not have, but she implied it. That was her tone.
Yeah.
And this whole gateway theory that has just been debunked 10 million times by science. This thing has been debunked, and these politicians, and who knows who are they in the pocket of? Let's ask that question. Does she get a lot of donations from tobacco, alcohol, pharmaceutical? Well, tobacco and alcohol are in the weed game now. I doubt they would be upset with her. But maybe pharmaceutical, maybe recovery industry. I don't know.
There's just too much. There's too much behind the scenes.
It's just, why would you be against something that the entire American public has clearly voiced their support for? If this is a democracy, why would you do that?
And there's no answer.
There's no answer other than, these like, oh, it's a gateway drug, or there's not been enough science. The plant hasn't been studied enough. This plant has been studied more than any other plant on earth.
And and we're just getting started.
The Israelis, all these people have done all this research. Come on. It is, you don't need any more research to conclude that prohibition must end, and more research should be done. And this plant should be leveraged for all the wellness benefits we can get out of it.
Which leads me into hemp.
Yeah, man.
I mean, come on. If you want to solve some problems, let's talk about hemp.
Yeah, man.
I mean, where do you want to go with just the benefits of hemp? We're not talking about the cannabis side, just hemp.
Yeah.
Everything
Well,
you see.
yes, everything you see in my this office, your studio, everything I'm wearing. Well, actually, this T-shirt has a little hemp in it. We can make out of hemp.
Yes.
Okay, everything.
Every textile. They're even talking the 3D printing now. They can use hemp.
Yeah, my friend Doug Fine, who you could have on your show, he's an author, big hemp farmer. He carries around this goat. The logo for his farm and his brand is a goat. And Doug Fine, Fine, his website's dougfine.com. And he has this little plastic goat that's a hemp 3D printed.
There you go. I didn't make that up, guys. I swear.
He shows it to everybody. And actually, I have one. Where is it? I might have it. Here it is. Boom, right here.
There you go.
This is a 3D hemp printed 3D piece of plastic.
So now nobody could say I was full of shit because it's right there in front of you.
This is it, man.
Yes.
And it's like plastic. It's like any kind of plastic. You could
So
dye this.
think about that. And that's just a goat. That's a 3D
It's
printed
not
goat.
a cup. You can make
everything
this out of this.
Right. That is the truth. And you know what? You're not harming anything. Hemp grows in the worst conditions you could ever imagine.
Like this tissue.
Yes.
You can make out of this. This is the bamboo one, but I mean,
bamboo is actually like hemp too. I mean, shit just grows.
Bamboo is pretty good too.
Right.
Bamboo in some parts of the world grows 3 feet a day.
Yes, it's crazy.
Oh my God.
If you, yeah,
it's amazing. It's a grass actually.
If you've ever been to Indonesia or Thailand, which I had the pleasure last year of being in both.
Cool. Oh, I'm so
Dude,
jealous.
and we stayed at this place. They said it's a full-time job because the resort is in the jungle, just keeping the bamboo down. It grows so fast that they have crews that's all they do around this resort is keep the bamboo down.
I'm trying to get I have this joint tube. I wish I had it right here next to me, but it's made out of bamboo. That is a joint tube that I'm trying to get in the marketplace. Right now, we're trying to figure out the child resistant. Can you believe you have to have a child resistant thing for a joint when you don't have to have it for a pack of cigarettes?
Right.
But in any case, I'm trying to figure that part out of it. But it's actually more sustainable than making the joint tube out of the hemp plastic. Anyway,
the hemp. I literally threw that out there because I watched a thing. I love watching things on hemp and the progression of what's happening and just I want to say how ignorant people are about hemp because they honestly believe that you can get high smoking hemp.
Okay, no. Well, okay, yeah, right. Well, good luck with that. You'll get an awful big headache.
And how about the fact that who was one of the first founders that was one of the biggest farmers of hemp? George Washington.
Oh, yeah, Washington, Jefferson, all of them had to farm hemp. They all had to. Yeah.
And it's like this could solve problems for so many textiles that we murder wood, like all these things that we do.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a great story, and it brings back my friend Doug Fine. Doug Fine and I are working on a TV show called American Hemp Farmer, which you could sponsor if you want it. But
absolutely.
One of the things we have, one of the episodes is Mount Vernon, where George Washington grew hemp. Doug Fine did got to go there, and they did a hemp crop. They did a hemp crop on Mount Vernon at George Washington's estate. They did a hemp crop because the way George Washington used hemp, he had these fishing nets. Because in the Potomac, he was right next to the Potomac River. And in those days, the Potomac River had like millions of fucking fish in it, man. Doesn't anymore.
No, wait. And you could also eat them.
Yeah, you could eat them.
Yeah.
And he would catch like a whole ton of fish. He would salt them in barrels and he would sell them back to England. And that's how the dude made a fortune. And of course, he had slaves helping him with all that. So that helped the margin.
Let's just call them employees.
No, you can't call
I know
them
you can't.
But no, I mean, that's how he used the hemp. And of course, the slaves farmed the hemp, and they made the nets, and they caught the fish, and they salted the fish, and they did all the work. But that is how. And so that estate of Mount Vernon was cool enough to allow a hemp crop to be planted and harvested the old-fashioned way. They actually harvested it with the same like
the sickles, the sickle
thing. Yeah. And there's a special name for it. I can't remember right now. But and you see it. In fact, my friend Doug Fine cuts his finger on the thing.
So you already filmed that part?
Oh yeah, we filmed it. Bro.
Well, when's it on? When is it on?
We need funding. Hello.
Oh, Tommy, let's take this down.
All right,
we
man.
we will support.
All right, man, that's great.
Absolutely.
But no, it's just the point is not to pitch my show, but is more to just these are the stories that really
we got to get it out.
Yeah, and it really happened, man. You know, and we really did. You know, and it is cool that these are cool things that are happening. In the hemp world. See, the world's so obsessed with the cannabis world, all the media, all the press, the hemp world doesn't get any attention. And that's a much vaster market. I mean, if you just think about hempcrete, all right, you can make concrete out of hemp. It's stronger, it's lighter, it holds more carbon, and it withstands fire and all this other stuff better. And all you need to make it is hemp and limestone, crushed limestone, and water.
Done.
That's all you need to make it.
Yeah.
All right, it's insane how easy it is to make, and the concrete is like one of the main carbon problems we have, right? And so if you just replace all the concrete on Earth with hempcrete, and this is where the suits come in, because we can't do that.
Right.
Stoners can't do that. Don't know how to do that. That's happening at a scale.
It's not that we don't know how. It's that we don't want to. We got enough going on.
I don't want to figure that out, right? There's people that have already figured that out. And they just need to get it through their thick head to stop doing the concrete and to start doing the hempcrete. And then once you show them the numbers, okay, then everyone's a lot more willing to.
But going back to the farming of hemp.
But we have to start somewhere. There's a chicken or egg problem with hemp, right? We don't have the finished goods for the farmers to get to get their hemp to market. The only thing you can sell from hemp right now is CBD.
Right.
Right. We need to start making a lot more stuff out of hemp. Now it's starting to happen. I've got these great hemp shoes from Fly Soul Shoes. They're made down in Mexico. I got this pasta from, I forget the name of the company.
You get them at Whole Foods.
Yes.
You get it at Whole Foods.
They're in Brooklyn, that company. Yep. And so we're starting to get more of these finished products that this hemp supply chain can feed into. But right now we planted too much hemp a year or two ago because the CBD thing went crazy and everybody, and there was too much exuberance and we planted too much hemp and the farmers got effed. And that's not good for our community.
Right.
Okay. With the farmers need to do as good or better than everybody else. I mean, the farmers need
it's
to do
the base of what's needed is the farmer.
And it's about time the farmers are in charge. Okay. A little bit more. And when the farmers are responsible for the raw material for big industry, like concrete, like fossil fuel, then the farmer has a lot more leverage, can get better prices, and can be part of the solution and not, and then we can start making farmers smaller, more local, again, like they used to be.
Yeah.
And,
you get your craft industries.
And a regenerative-based farm, it's not true that the yields on a chemical-based farm are better than the yields on a regenerative-based farm. It's not true at all. So and I'm not a farmer, I'm not a farm scientist, but but I talk to a lot of farmers like Doug Fine and other people like Manny Alvarez up in Bird Valley Organics in Santa Cruz and there's this whole movement. I'm going to write about it soon in Forbes about regenerative farming.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was looking at an article and I can't quote it, but what I got from that article was that growing cannabis growing hemp is one of the easiest processes in the fact of how farming is. It's super stable. It grows in next to the worst environments as far as the soil conditions and whatnot. And it requires almost no, it wasn't pesticides, but it doesn't require much at all.
Yeah, the inputs are less, and if it's grown right, and our problem with hemp is not what hemp really does well is sequester carbon in the soil, and it's a big thing that we need. That's why people are talking about planting literally trillions of trees on the planet Earth. Humans are going to have to plant in the coming decades to absorb carbon that we've belched up into the air.
Right.
Hemp does that too. It's very simple. Carbon is in the earth and it's in plants. And so when you cut plants down and you mine stuff, extract from the earth, you take the carbon that's inside the earth and you put it in the air. And it heats up because carbon is heat. And so we got to take carbon out of the air now and put it back into the earth. Very simple. It's not so hard to understand. Hemp can take that carbon out of the air, put it into its plants and down into its roots and back into the earth. And it does that really, really well because hemp, as you said, grows fast. It takes about 90 days to grow hemp. It's taller than a man, the tallest basketball player on earth.
Right.
Many feet taller. And our problem with hemp is everything around it. We don't have the right seed stock. We don't have the machinery to process it. We don't have the factories to make hempcrete at a big scale. We don't have the factories to make clothing and fiber at a big scale. And these are the things that hemp has to work on. And I wish the media was covering hemp more because that's the opportunity. You know, there's all this exuberant. You just saw this company out here in California, Glass House, sell for $560 million or $526 million, right? And it's just they got a greenhouse and 4 dispensaries and a couple brands. One of the brands is Bella Thorne, who's, you know, a big celebrity.
Yep.
And there is no way that campus and group is going to sell $500 million worth of weed. And it's going to take them years. It's going to take them years to sell that much weed. Maybe they can sell the Bella Thorne brand all over the world and this and that. But it's like it's like a lot. Okay. And the hemp people could really use $500 million right now. For something that might actually have a much faster ROI
than the Bella Thorne,
you know, than the Glass House deal. Not to beat up on the Glass House deal, more power to everybody for, you know, all of that, and good luck. And if you need help, call me, andrewdangelo.com. But the point is that we need that exuberance in hemp. It's really, and I don't, you know, we have to create it somehow.
See, I knew hemp was going to be a good one.
Well, because think about it.
I do. I think about it all the time.
You know? And where are you based right now? Where are you sitting right now?
San Diego.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Cool.
And so we're working on a cultivation deal down in the Imperial Valley. Which obviously is east of us. No, to grow cannabis. And it's kind of a funny story because 2 years ago, and this, you know, down in El Centro, down in the Imperial Valley, it's big lettuce crops and whatnot. So people came and proposed hemp, and they took it and they ran with it and they put some big hemp farms down there. Unfortunately, they failed, and there was a multitude of reasons. New to the situation, people put together groups that nobody really knew how, as you were talking about, to farm hemp, and it got away from them. So, yeah, you know, and so we have been meeting with the city council down in El Centro, and they've been up here to our facility, and you know, the biggest problem that they have right now is they're concerned about cross-pollination.
Yeah.
And I said, So wait a second. First of all, I mean, us as cannabis, and I love hemp. I'm like, there should be no issue with coexisting. You know, these farms are
agricultural best practices have figured out cross-pollination in other crops a long time ago. And I don't think it's as big. In some circumstances, it may be an issue, but I think in most circumstances, it's not. It's not, as long as you practice good farming practices. That's what my friend Doug Fine says.
Yes.
About that. And if they and you know, taking a crack at cannabis out there might be a more certain outcome for them than taking another crack at hemp. Plus, the hemp bill, I think, up in Sacramento needs to get better. The hemp laws need to get a little bit better. Once again, those laws that we keep trying to pass up there, the people with the moats kill them. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, but it's one of those things where, you know, I mean, you deal with it, we deal with it, and, you know, and all the other things that we're doing. And the fact that, you know, it was just kind of funny because, you know, hemp produces seeds, and that's, you know, that's a typical thing. And everything that we do is to try to not have pollination, and they're worried. This isn't the hemp farmers. This is the people in the city council that are worried about cannabis cross-pollinating with hemp.
They're worried about traditional ag, and they're worried about, you know, it's just another, they're ignorant and fearful.
Maybe you think they're worried that maybe they're going to end up creating some sort of a can of lettuce. Like our cannabis crops will pollinate the lettuce market, and
well, they're probably worried about cross-pollination of cannabis crops, but they're also worried about lots of other things.
Oh yeah. It goes into bugs. It goes into, you know.
Well, kids are gonna see it. It's gonna smell. All these things.
Yeah.
Even hemp field smells like weed. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
And you know, so they use the excuse of cross-pollination, but what they're really worried about is smell or something else, and
something in there.
It's just the stigma at the local levels. Just it's stubborn. The stigma is very stubborn.
What would you say is your proudest moment of what you've done and what you're doing? Like, when you look at it and you go, man, you know, I'm really happy that I was able to be a part of this, or to do this, or to bring this to light, or whatever it is.
Well, two come to mind. One is you know, when I decided to take the risk of giving a child with epilepsy cannabis on national television.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first person to do that. And that was a hard decision. We had to meet with a lot of lawyers and as a family for a long time, but I decided to take that risk. And so that's a very proud moment for me, because there's lots of kids all over the world now benefiting from cannabis medicine, both pharmaceutical grade and other grades, and they're having a lot less seizures and death. And that's something our community, that I sort of pulled the trigger on, or I shouldn't say pull the trigger, but sort of launched, right? Pioneered. But then a whole bunch of really other fantastic leaders came behind that effort, and whether it be the Stanley brothers or Sanjay Gupta or Charlotte Figi, rest her soul,
yeah,
or any number of so many other leaders that have come forward to help these kids, and are still helping these
in which
kids
we do
today
as well. We're big in that part of it.
Yeah. And so that we all should feel proud of that, because that was intractable epilepsy. If you just spend time with these kids, you'll just have tears coming down your face. There's just no way you cannot. I don't care how cold a human being you are. You just cannot sit with these children and watch their suffering
Yeah.
from something that none of us understand. science, medicine, pharmacology. Nobody knows how to fix this. No one even comes close to it. A lot of the solutions are worse. Most of the time, they're just cut the brain right out and turn these kids into vegetables, or they over medicate them and turn them into zombies. And we've really, and it's not just the kids, the burden on the families, the 24-hour
it's horrible. It's horrible.
It just, they live in a constant state of burnout, in a constant state of panic, in a constant state of anxiety, and they're suffering too. So we've brought a lot of relief. Of course, it's not a cure, so anyone listening should know that. But we've brought a lot of relief, and that's so much of what cannabis medicine does. Sometimes cannabis medicine can cure, but many times, maybe even most of the time, it relieves. It gives people, it's not just physical relief, as we were talking about how cannabis changes people from the inside out. It's emotional relief, it's spiritual relief, it's creative relief, it's sensual relief. It's all these things get activated in your
it's
body
relief. And that's the truth. I mean, when you go to the store and you buy something because you itch, you're buying something to relieve that. When you have a pain and you go buy some sort of a topical or a cream, you're buying that for relief.
Right.
And the thing is
right.
yeah. And the thing is now we're understanding so much more about this plant and the compounds and how this works that we're able to, not we, but the industry, as primitive as it is now able to kind of isolate. If if you have a pain, use this. It's not just go smoke a joint. The industry's moving. We just need the help to get it to that next level.
Right. I think so. And particularly in markets like California and Colorado and Washington, where things have been developing for a while. Companies have been around for years and years. They've made mistakes. They've learned how to get their recipes better. They've developed all kinds of different products. People have gotten into the industry. They've had to find their niche. A lot of people have found their niche with wellness and medical. And so there's just a huge amount of different medical products, topicals, tinctures, capsules, different formulations, different cannabinoids, vape pens like you guys make it's extraordinary. And it's overwhelming sometimes for the customer. And so we I think have to do a better job of helping them learn and educate them. But that's a good problem to have. It's a great problem to have that. Oh, there's too many good things for you.
And the thing you should be doing is you should be laughing and dancing.
Right. Here.
No, seriously. I mean, you're 100% correct. Like with everything that's going on, especially the way things are now. I mean, guys, this has been the best time to slow down and actually look out the window on the train and see what's out there versus the freight train that we've been on. And I think if you were to ever really try to isolate good things about what's happening in the world right now, I can honestly say from my perspective is it's been able to get you to step back and look at what your family and friends and everybody's really doing and pay attention. That's been the big thing.
I agree with
you. As we get on the 405 and the 5 and all these freeways now, and I just drove down last night from LA back to San Diego, and I had a lot of time to kind of think about some stuff, and as we get back on the freeways and now we're seeing the traffic again, we're starting to see the cars, and and it's great. I was sitting, and I'm not saying it to be posh, but I was sitting in the Beverly Hills Hotel, having dinner, and it was like a really great feeling that we were all, everybody sitting in, and it was just so normal in that way, and I felt really good that normalcy was coming back, and that the mask didn't become the norm in that way. But then I also, as I was driving back and I was with my son, I got to think a lot about where we've been this last year and a half. And did we, are we learning anything from this as people with all the things that have taken place with the racism and all this, everything that hit us all at one time. And the thing that I can say is not that everybody needs to slow down, but they do. They need to just really understand that everything's going to be okay and take time for each other. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I've been so fortunate, and then being able to, as a grandfather, and I have new kids coming.
Wow, that's great.
And I've got twins on the way,
Wow.
and with all this stuff that's going on, man, we've been just going crazy. And, and now you look at it like, oh, we can't travel, but you know what? We're traveling here. We're spending more time.
I'm taking my first airplane ride across the country next week, and a first airplane ride I've had in, I don't know, 14 months. And I'm really excited to get back into the world. I'm going to be cautious, of course,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to get back into the world. The rest of the world isn't vaccinated at the rate that we are. We here in the United States and some of the other, more advanced countries.
Right.
And that's a personal decision, man.
Yep.
I'm not going to get on any kind of vaccine or anti-vaccine soapbox. I've already made that mistake. Our community has, mixed feelings about it. So, it's a personal decision, but I'm the kind of leader and I have to be with people, man. I have to be in the world. It's been very hard for me. I have appreciated slowing down, and I hope everybody has appreciated that and taken that opportunity and spent more time.
I think more so. Sorry, I think more so not to deflect your business and things that you enjoy in that way, but I think that everything has just always been like so fast. And it's like, oh, I want to have a family, do this. And everything grows up so quick, regardless. The time doesn't stop, but you can stop and just pay attention to what's going on. And when you ask, I'm guilty of this 1,000%. If I was to call you up and say, or see you, hey, how's it going? There's no meaning behind that. We got into a point where we're just like asking the question, do we really care? Do I really care how Andrew feels? And I think the big thing is for me personally is that I started to really care how people feel, and I wasn't saying it just to say, hey, how you doing? I get that,
right, because we knew the answer was I suck.
That is the truth. And you know what? And now I understand more that if I can say something or do something to help your day, it makes me feel better. And before, not that we're all me people, but before we never took the time to really ask with meaning of how that person is doing. And now I think we're getting, and even with my wife and with family, we're getting a better understanding of how we really are, because, we feel comfortable in the space to tell each other, I don't feel good right now. I don't know. I think that's been a big change for me through this process. I love people, man. I'm like you. I love people. I love traveling. I love all of this stuff. And business wise, we're multi-state, and we've been, shut down, and so, excited like you to get back into that. But I think more so, I think people need to just, as bad as it's been, figure out what good has been pulled from this. Because if you can't go through this period of time, and don't get me wrong, we're still in it, but I think we're going to get there. But if you can't pull something out of this 1.5 years, 2 years that was good, man, what a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree. I learned a lot myself and actually changed quite a bit of my own behaviors, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. If you want to slow down and not move as fast and pay more attention, I think that's the key, what you just said about paying attention. How do we use attention? It's not so much time, right? It's because time is attention. And if we use our attention a certain way, time slows down.
It does.
Time slows down, man. And when time slows down, our heartbeats slow down. And when our heartbeats slow down, you live longer.
Jesus. That all came out. So what now? What now? What are you doing?
Well, right now, Last Prisoner Project's a big thing I do. So that's the nonprofit that I'm chairman of the board, co-founder of, and we get people out of prison and re-enter them into society.
Amazing shit, guys. Seriously, because you don't realize how many people are incarcerated, are in prison for cannabis, and are still in prison for something that now you can't even, they won't even think about arresting you for.
Well,
so that is what I wanted to really sum up on is that.
Yeah, no, I thank you for saying that. It's true. We have, our estimate is 40,000 prisoners still in jail in the United States for cannabis. And so that's a lot of work to do because there's a lot of us like you and me that have been in the legal business, and our companies make, millions of dollars of revenue and employ lots of people and do the same thing the people in prison that are in prison for. And it's just absurd. So that's why we started Last Prisoner Project. I spent a good chunk of my time on that. I'm also a strategic advisor and consultant to the global cannabis industry. My sweet spot client so far I'm not helping the MSOs or the publicly traded companies yet, but I'm here for those guys whenever they want. I'm ready to help. But I get a lot of course I do pro bono work with legacy operators and people of color and social equity folks. But the way I make money as a strategic advisor and consultant is the American entrepreneur and the international entrepreneur. They're not hedge funds, they're not VCs, they're small businesses.
Working.
They had success in some other industry. Maybe it was real estate, maybe it was hospitality. Those industries are kind of getting disrupted with the pandemic. They're looking at cannabis. They've had success. They have, enough money to afford a guy like me, and they want to get in. They don't want to dominate the world. They just want to build a nice little regional business or a nice little local business, not tiny, not mom and pop, but not giant, kind of, and that's been my sweet spot. So I'm helping people all over the country and in very new places like Mississippi. I'm helping a group there. And I'm really excited to, start to bring cannabis to places like Mexico and Mississippi and do the work in these new areas and help pioneer the new next generation of leaders in those places. So that's kind of how I'm putting butter on the bread these days. And then, of course, I have all my thought leadership and creative projects and my writing that I do and my speaking and trying to, like I mentioned, the TV show with Doug Fine and still, my training as an actor when I was a very young man, teenager and college student, it's always been a dream of mine to be a storyteller. And now I get to do that in different ways in cannabis like we're doing right now. And this is I hope I get to do more and more of that sort of work. As you know, we don't get paid a lot of money for these things.
No.
But I really do love making appearances, talking to folks like you, writing in Forbes and Playboy and places like that. It's really,
it's what you do.
Yeah. Carrying the message is really what I love to do most. So,
well, I hope, we're trying to put together, kind of a different, we've all sat on panels. You've sat on more panels than I could ever imagine in every direction. And I think the one thing is that this is about for us is that the cannabis is okay. It's not this, and you've been promoting that and bringing that out. And I think it'd be really great at some point, when we get through what we're doing in the beginning phase of what I would call being back to normalcy, is there's so many people with, and you deal with this all the time, with the questions of cannabis and where we're at, and is it too late to get into cannabis? And I would just I don't know, we're putting together this panel, and I'll promote that to you once we get through this, that it's just that cannabis is okay, and I'll describe it to you. I'll promote that.
All right,
on
just
that
drop
end of
me
it.
an email, man, because I'd love to do it. I mean, look, it's not too late at all.
No.
And,
how many times do you get people that go, man, I was just last night, man, I wish I would have got into cannabis. I wish I should have done this earlier. And I always just go, man, you have no idea. Like, we're just starting.
right.
Like, get in the pool.
That's exactly what I tell people also, and it's true, because just think about it. That there's still a small percentage of Americans that have access to legal weed right now. There's even a smaller percentage of Mexicans and Europeans and Africans and Latin Americans that have that access.
Yep.
And many Americans have roots in all of those places and can find their spot, as the industry goes global. Maybe
Absolutely.
Okay, and so maybe here in a place like LA or San Diego or Oakland, it's kind of crowded already, but in a place like Mexico City, it's not. They're going to legalize weed down there. And so I think everybody can find their spot. You need guidance, okay, from somebody that you can trust, somebody like me or somebody like you or somebody, that does this. And there's lots of people like consultants and advisors. You just got to find the right fit. I'm not the right fit for everybody. So, but everybody can find their spot. And when I know I'm not the right fit for somebody, I refer them to somebody that I think will be the right fit.
Instead of being that person that's just like, oh, I'm going to do this. Give me the money. I'm going to do this.
I did, because ultimately that'll blow up in your face.
Yep.
And when you're a consultant, the only currency you have is your reputation.
And that's what you have.
That's all I've got, bro.
No, but you have a really good reputation.
Well, I appreciate that. I've worked hard on it, and
still working.
And still working. No, every day you have to be authentic and real in this. That's what our community does best, is keeping everybody honest. And people keep me honest all the time in the community. People say, hey, I didn't like that thing you wrote. I didn't like, and then I talk to them and I'm like, well, gosh, maybe you were right. I should have a more open mind about that. And I'll give that some more, or I'll say, I'm taking my stand here and I disagree with you.
And that's okay too.
But it's okay too. I respect you. If we don't know how to disagree agreeably, nobody does. It's like, okay, if we're not disagreeing agreeably, let's smoke a joint.
And they know what we're going to do? We're going to laugh and we're going to dance.
Take some TV. Yeah, let's get to laughing and dancing, man, because we're not right now. And that's our secret sauce. It really is our secret sauce.
That's it.
That's
Andrew. Listen, as much as I battled to get into Harborside, this is actually so much better. Where we're at now. It's definitely not the last. Man, this guy's, and I followed you. The show, honestly, the show is where it started for me. So what a great stepping stool. But the things that you've done, when we talk about community, some people narrow that down to a 50-mile radius around you. And let's be clear, guys, he's not talking about the community 50 miles around. He's talking about the community, and that is the globe. That's the world, and how cannabis is being portrayed, how it's being treated, how it's being legalized, how to decriminalize. He's got his hands in every pot. No pun intended. So I listen, I truly am going to help in my possible way to support. I want to see the George Washington Farm hit the TV screen in some way, or YouTube, something. So we will definitely we will definitely support on that end. And anywhere else that we can support, would love to. Once again, Andrew D'Angelo, amazing person. I truly appreciate the fact that you gave me this time. And regardless of the pandemic and everything else that's going on, I know you're busy, dude, because we're all still busy. For
George,
sure.
it was a real pleasure to be with you and your listeners today. Thank you for the opportunity.
There you go. We have it. It's not the last time. I promise. I'm gonna talk to you about some future stuff that we're looking at.
Okay.
That will benefit the community.
You got my email, andrew@andrewdangelo.com. Easy.
And Tommy will get everything else to promote through as we go along here.
Okay,
and subscribe, because guys, this is free. This is free, and you don't get this in normal life. This information and the fun and the understanding. Cannabis is okay, guys. Cannabis is okay, and we're all going to be all right through all of this. Andrew,
everything going to be all right.
Thank you.